Welcome everybody to another Inkarnate live stream. Hey, today we're going to be showing you guys how to make mountain ranges. Yeah, mountain ranges are fun, and you know what? Sometimes it's kind of confusing to figure out, well, how do I know where to put mountains on my map, and how do you know what is the right shape, and how is it that you make them blend in better with the rest of the map, and what relation do they have as an anchor for scale? All these questions are going to be answered in this stream. Howdy, King Clown. Hello, Cheryl. Yeah. Oh, I'm already seeing so many lovely people. I like it. Hey, mountain ranges, very exciting. So, you know, in this stream, in the beginning, we're going to have two segments, okay? So the first segment, we're going to break down how mountains are formed. Now, there are multiple ways that mountains are formed. I'm only going to show one because it's the most common one. It's easy to explain, and also it's the most applicable to actually using in our tool, but it's not the only way. Remember, I am not a professional. I don't have any kind of technical or professional training with explaining plate tectonics, but I'll tell you what I do know, and for those of you who do know more, feel free to mention whatever knowledge that you have in the chat, because hey, that's what we're doing here. In this community, we learn from each other. So I look forward to seeing what other people know as well. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't make every stream this month. Oh, King, Your Majesty, you are the king. You have, you know, I mean, you have special, you know, exemption. You're a royal. Well, all right, so let's go again. First segment, kind of went off tangent there. First segment, we're going to explain a little bit of plate tectonics, how mountains are formed one way. And in the second segment, we're going to go ahead and apply what we've learned onto a map, okay? So let's not waste any time. Let's jump in. First, talk about how mountains are formed, okay? Now, there's something called plate tectonics. There are continental plates, large plates, in which land masses actually sit upon. Those plates will converge onto each other. Now, this takes millions of years. It's a very, very slow process, okay? So you're not really going to see it in real time or anything like that. It takes many, many, many years. Now, the area in which two plates collide is called plate convergence. That's that zone in which they converge. There are two continental crusts that collide into each other. The one that pushes down into the asthenosphere, or closer to the downward, is called subduction. It's sub, right? It goes under, okay? The other plate slides up, pushing land crust upward, forming your mountain range. That takes a long, long freaking time, okay? So it's basically, one thing you could do to show how that works is you could take two shoe boxes, take 10 towels on top of each other, and then put shoe boxes on the sides and then push inward, and you'll see that the towel starts to fold inward, okay? And there is a process of mountain formation called folds, and that's what this kind of shows, okay? So folds inward, pushing the mass up. So that's a little bit about how mountain ranges are formed. There are other ones. There's like dome, volcanic. There's a couple other ones, but I'm not going to go over everything and in complete detail, but knowing a little bit about how plate tectonics play a role in mountain ranges, that helps you to figure out how you might apply that in the actual, on your actual map. Hey, dragons, dreams, and squirrels. The dream dragon squirrel is here. Woo! Yes. Hey, first time chatter. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome, Siri Myth Killer. Welcome. Glad that you are here. We love you too, my friend. Yeah, we're an awesome community. Go join our Discord if you haven't, by the way. So many lovely faces there. So many nice people. Just don't forget to go to our roles channel. Get that Inkarnate role so you can see all the different channels on the server, okay? Now, if you want to know where this guide is, you can find it on my profile, so go check that out. This was just a simple guide that I pulled offline. I went ahead and mimicked it and just replicated it in the tool. It's really fun to actually make these kind of diagrams. They're really kind of helpful. So I'll go ahead and show you a guide that I made. I just recently posted it, and it kind of gives you a brief idea of how you're going to do your continental plates and then how to put the mountain ranges over it. If you're looking for this guide, it's on my profile, clone and edit it. And we're going to be explaining this process in the next segment. But one thing that you can do that makes life really easy is that you can, when you have your continents already put together and you're ready, this is a map. This is for your world maps. Mountain ranges are generally, you're going to be focusing on those on world maps or regional maps. When it comes to battle maps, mountains are so massive in scale that it would be nearly impossible to get them to show up on a battle map. So it's just an unrealistic scale. Now there are watercolor cities, and which cities are on top of mountains, and I will show you how to make those as well. But the majority of this is going to be about world maps, okay? But don't worry, we'll go into other styles. So what I like to do is to use a red dotted line to create my plates, and so you'll make several plates with these red dotted lines. Now where the plates connect, which is the lines, I put those red arrows to show stress marks where the plates are connecting. Now that line right there, if it's on a landmass, all you're going to do is put your mountain range on there. It's really as simple as that. Two plates converge, that's the collision zone or convergence zone. Those plates hit each other, one goes down, that's subduction, one goes up, pushing land upwards slowly, creating your mountain ranges, okay? So then from there, you're just going to place one single range with mountains rather large, okay? Not super large, but larger, and you're going to push them down all the way along the line. With that green dotted line, that represents the first part of the range, the center part of the range. Those two yellow lines represent mountains that I shrunk down smaller and then single clipped place them along the side. Because with folds, you're going to get more than just a straight range of just one line of peaks. It's going to be multiple peaks. It's a mountain range. Okay, so expect multiple mountain peaks. Now, the farther the mountains and things that get away from there, you're going to, like those smaller mountains on the sides, I had to shrink those down. The farther away you go from the main buckle point that's represented by that red line, the mountains are going to get a little bit smaller. And then you'll also have foothills, okay? So in the next part, once you've put that main range down, represented by the blue lines, dotted lines you can see here, I created little tiny branches, okay, that go out. Now, of course, your branches, as they go out, the further away from the main range, the smaller the mountain stamps are going to get. So that way you can kind of show that the main collision point, the main buckle point, is in the center part where the two plates converged, okay? Now you also want to put in your foothills. As you can see, there are foothills here, and often there are, and this is not always the case, but often there are dense forests that populate at the base of mountains. That's not always the case, but it's something that you can add in, okay? As well as in our last stream, we talked about rivers. Mountains are where the headwaters or the source of rivers come from. So rivers are always going to start in the mountains and then go to your coast, okay? All right, so that's as simple as that. Now you can clone and edit this guide. Hey, Bazooga to you. Welcome, my friend. So glad to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're doing mountain ranges. All right, so that pretty much breaks that part up. So now let's go ahead and jump in the tool, apply what we just learned, and I'll also show you a cool technique on how to make land masses that will correlate and actually show the convergence points. I'll show you a really, really cool trick on that. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this map. Real quick, we'll open it right up. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And don't forget, if you have knowledge about mountain ranges that I did not mention, feel free to pipe up. Don't be shy. Whatever knowledge you have, let's share it with the rest of the community and help me to not sound like a complete idiot when talking about mountains. Your knowledge will be mine. I will incorporate it into my own. Okay, so first, when it comes to knowing your mountains, first you're going to have land masses, right? Now, we did do tutorial on or stream on landmasses, but I actually didn't. I left out a certain technique that I like to use that might be helpful to you. And sometimes it's really hard to figure out how you want your landmasses to look, right? So there's a cool technique with paths, and what's really nice about paths is you can rotate them. So we're going to make a series of landmass shapes with the path tool, rotate them, move them around, connect them, and then go over with the landmass or the mask tool. First, I need to get the right settings I want. Now, you don't have to worry about perfect settings because this is just a guide that you're going to end up deleting later, but it's nice to have this to help you out. So I'll show you the technique. So first, you have your world, and you can go in and you don't have to make it huge, but make a general shape. Now, don't forget, the shape doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a guide. Just think about whatever landmass shape that you want. Throw in some horns, maybe a bay, maybe some just nips right here, some fingers. There you go. Like this. Just be real squiggly about it, okay? And make a couple of them. So we'll make a couple of these squiggly gigglies here. Just a smidge. We'll make like a strange whatever shaped one as well. Oopsie, don't worry about not connecting that. Hey, first time chat, Homebrew Coffee Co. Welcome, glad to have you here. Okay, let's go ahead and make a maybe kind of a crescent shape. That might be kind of fun. Yeah, glad to have you. Oh man, I love seeing new faces. All right, let's make one more shape, okay? Now, the beauty of making it with the path tool is you can rotate them, you can move them around, you can increase the size, you can make mistakes like that. Don't do that. Naughty, naughty. Oopsie. All right, there we go. Okay. Now that you have your shapes, what's the beauty of them is you can copy and paste them. You can rotate them, whatever you like, right? You can boost the size up, okay? That's the beauty of doing this, okay? And you can connect them together like this to say, well, I want my landmass to be a little bit more out here. I'm going to connect this one, and it's okay if they overlap. By the way, it's okay if they overlap. No. Yeah. It's just a technique because you're going to end up deleting these. You're going to fill it in with the mask tool, right? So lots of cool little tricks, and you can come up with multiple land shapes when you put them all together. That is the beauty of this, and it also can act as showing your zone in which your plates hit each other. See how this plate overlaps? Well, there might be a mountain range right there. So lots of cool little techniques that you can use to make your life easier. All right, so let's go ahead and just decide on what land masses we're going to make. I'm not going to do anything spectacular. This is just a guide, but let's just go ahead and put one here. Let's put one here, I think should look good. And let's put another one over here. Well, let's scale it down and bring it over here maybe. Okay, let's do it over here. Let's do good. All right, there you go. So now you have your land masses, right? And you can also piece them together, okay? I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to have them be separate for now. Once you've done that, you can go in with your add mode of the mask tool, and you can have your edgy brush on or off. I'm going to make it smooth, make them fairly large. Let's just take a look and see how it looks first. I got to make sure that I'm using the right mode to subtract. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, well, it's blue there. A naughty. Let's do something real quick. I'm going to make the whole thing the subtract mode. So I'll go ahead and just do this and put subtract. There we go. Perfect. All right. Makes perfect sense. Now let's go back and let's put with the add mode. There we go. Because normally your land masses are going to be with the add mode, while your subtract mode is going to end up being your oceans or water. This is not always the case. The mask tool can be used for many, many things. But when it comes to a world map, the general purpose for the mask tool is to designate land from water. Okay, add mode equals land. That's the FG layer. The subtract mode is going to be water. That's going to be the BG layer. Two separate layers that you can paint upon separately, okay? Okay, yeah, absolutely. Showing where the plates hit together. And in fact, we will probably copy and paste and put some plates. Now, it's up to you how you want to go about doing this. Lots of different ways. First, let's just add with the add mode. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry about filling it in perfectly. Okay, don't worry about that. You're gonna sculpt this later. Okay, we're gonna do sculpting later. Let's just fill it in until the shape is created. All right, and then we can put in more plates, or we can put in the stress lines where our plates are gonna converge. Okay, so let's just go ahead and put this together. Don't worry about if you make any mistakes. Remember, it's just a guide. You're going to delete this pooey thing anyway. It's going to go bye-bye. Yeah, exactly, right? Smart idea, huh? You see, once in a while I come up with okay ideas. I try not to let it get to my head, though. I promise. All right, there we go. And we'll make sure to delete a bunch of this stuff, too, that we don't want. Let's put another one here. Ooh, wait a second for the mask settings to kick in. There we go. All right, perfect. Okay. And we'll throw in another one, and we'll actually have where the plates are converging as well, because I do want to show that. Okay, so let's put this one right here, another one right here. Copy and paste. Well, yeah, this one should be fine. Let's go ahead and put it right here. Okay. All right, that's where the plate's going to converge. So I'll go ahead and fill that with a little bit more land, and then we're going to create a fault line there. So I'll show you that as well. We're going to end up removing everything, but first we're going to make sure that our plates are put together and that they're hitting a thing. I'm also going to go to advanced options, or I'm sorry, mask effects, and I'm going to turn off every single thing because that black line of the stroke is distracting me from where the path is. Now that that's gone, I can distinguish a little bit easier. Okay, let's put another continental. Let's put another one where plates connect. Let's put one here. Okay, just say that some plates hit against here, like this. I'll go ahead and use that mask tool right here, fill this in. Okay, now that you've done that, we can go with the path tool. You're gonna do dotted lines, just like we did in the guide. We're gonna create a red dotted line. Let's bring it up so it's above the current path. And I'm going to now place my connection points where that is, like this, one right here. Now you can also include more. You don't have to follow it perfectly. You could say that there are two plates that connected this one. If it's easier for you, you can create the entire plate. So I'll do that too. You don't have to just create the lines on the landmass. If you intend to make a mountain range underneath the ocean, then you can put down the red line that creates the contact point of the plates, but you don't have to do that. I'll throw that in there if it just makes it easier for people. You can totally do that. So let's just say this whole thing is a massive plate. Okay, this whole thing is a massive plate, and so therefore that you're going to find mountains in that part. You have another plate, a larger plate right here that kind of connects here and then goes through here. You're going to have mountain ranges there. Okay, same thing here. Follow this, the plate goes out. Okay, so where these contact points are, these are stress marks. Where these are at are when they connect on land, but it's also under the ocean as well. There are mountain ranges underwater. Okay, that's where most of the larger mountains are, but these contact points right here, these are where your mountain ranges are going to be. Okay, all right, so there you go. It's really as simple as that, right? All you did was make some simple shapes, put them together, boom, done. It's really not complex, so very, very helpful. Now, of course, once you've put on those, you can now delete, and of course, you have your marks where your mountain ranges are going to be. Perfect. Now you can go in and you can, let's go ahead and delete these stress marks here. You don't really need those. I'm going to select all those paths. I'm going to group them, of course, and we'll just call them lines or plates or convergence. You can call it whatever you want. Okay, we'll say lines for now, okay? All right, and of course, after you do that, drop the opacity a little bit of that group, so that way it's not overbearing, and of course, push it down to layer -5. So that way you put your mountain ranges right over it, okay? So now that that's done, we can go right over into the catalog. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and use Fantasy World, okay? Because this is a world map. Just pick whatever mountain range you want. It doesn't really matter. Now, just so you know, when it comes to scale, your mountain ranges, your mountains are going to be your key stamp. They're really going to decide the rest of the scale of your map, okay? Now, I want to talk a little bit about scale with world maps pertaining to mountain ranges. You don't have to follow scale perfectly. There are many different map techniques, map styles where points of interest are highly stylized and therefore large. Some world maps try to follow scale very, very rigidly, where you wouldn't even see an individual tree. You'd see like a dense populated green color that represents a tree, right? So scale is really up to you on what style you're going for. If you're going for more realistic, quote unquote realistic, you can't really make perfectly realistic on your map, but you can get as close as you can. And a great start with that is scaling your mountains. Once you've got your mountain down, you can now scale everything else to that mountain, okay? So clearly, if you're going for closer to scale, you're not going to have a massive tree next to a tiny mountain, okay? Unless it's like a world tree, Yggdrasil, you know, the massive tree. That makes sense. But instead, just focus on your mountains are the first stamp you're going to place down, and therefore those are going to set your scale. Now, right here at 100, this is a massive mountain, right? You see that when I look at this, it's about the size of an island, right? That's not going to work. So let's scale it down a bit, okay? Let's scale it down. This looks, let me just go ahead and place a mountain range down. Look how that looks in scale. You could bring it down maybe to 35. Let's go to 35, okay? That looks about fine to me. Hey, first-time viewer, Bumsy Gaming, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here, my friend. Awesome, I love it. More and more people, can't go wrong with that. I like. Okay, so now that we've set the scale for the mountains, let's do our first central range where the two plates crunched into each other and slowly over millions of years pushed the land upward. Remember, the plate that goes down further into the mantle, into the asthenosphere, is called, that process is called subduction. That plate goes down. The plate that goes up, pushing upward, that plate, that mountain, that land is what's going to form your mountain peaks. So again, place your first range, go all the way down. I'm going to leave some space to where I don't come close to where my shoreline is, okay? And I want to also mention that overlapping is key. You'll notice how this mountain right here overlaps this shoreline. It kind of creates the illusion of depth. The more stamps that you stack on top of each other, you're going to create more and more depth. You're forcing the viewer's eye to see things in a series of layers going back and forward that create the illusion of depth, okay? So again, this mountain range right here is protruding. Don't try to hide your range, hide your mountain so it doesn't go over that. No. You absolutely want this to overlap your coastlines so that way you have this illusion of depth, okay? So now you have the first part of your range, and you can maneuver things around as you see fit, move this around. Maybe you want this to jut out a little bit more this way, push this one, make whatever adjustments that you feel you need to make, okay? So now that we've made the first range, or not necessarily range, but the central part of the range, now we can go in and drop down the size to, let's say, about 20, okay? Now I'm gonna do this with single clicks instead of dragging, or you can drop the density down. So let me drop the density down. Let me just verify the difference, the spacing between them. Yeah, that works fine. So now I'm going to go in on the left side and just start putting in some mountain ranges. Oopsie, it looks like the collisions will not work properly. That's okay. We're going to go back and we're going to do the single clicks. Now I remember why I did that. Now I remember why I did single clicks. So remember, 20 size, go ahead and place a couple along the left and right side. Now make sure they're at the same layer, by the way, because if you have one at one layer and the other, the collision won't work properly. So you have to make sure they're at the proper layer. Let me just verify. One, that looks right. There we go, that looks fine. Oh, that's right. I'm in a different map style right now, so they are going to interact differently. I just realized that. Oops. My bad. Oopsie, I knew I should have done this in a different style. Well, hey, I'm glad you can be here for my whoopsie. So you'll go ahead and just place the mountains on each side. So now you have some extra folds that were created. Okay, once you've done that part, remember we've done that, now you can go in and create separate branches going off. Let me just show you what I said, what I showed you. Okay, so we have first the central range, the central part of the range right here. Oopsie, that's a segment, pre-draw, right? We made those segments there. Then we went in and we took, made some smaller ones on each side. Okay? So there's a little more that we got to do here. So let's go ahead and create branches that are going to branch off from them. And the way that I like to decide my branches depends a lot on the curve of the mountain. So let me just show you with some straight lines how I would do it, okay? So you'll notice that this is the central branch, the main range, okay? But you'll also notice that there are some key locations that look good for branching to go out, and that is those angles. So you can put a branch out here, a branch out here, a branch out here, a branch here, and a branch here, okay? Really as simple as that. You just take a path, create the straight lines, and at each angle that it deviates, then you can go ahead and create your branches going outward. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's create those branches. Now you know where to have them, where to put them. Let's do them. Not complex, now is it? Pretty easy stuff, right? So now you can go in with your mountains like this, and as your mountains, as these branches go further away from the main range, they're going to go down in scale, okay? So let's just put one right here, and one right here, bring the size down to maybe 15, one here, maybe all the way down to the smallest scale, 10 right here. So you have that first one right there, okay? So now we can go in and make the next one, which we said was gonna be right here. So we'll go ahead and put down this one right here, one here, and let's bring one down in scale there. Put a couple of them together like this. There we go. There's another one. Let's build another one. Let's go ahead and bring this scale up. There we go. That looks fine. This one is smaller. Perfect. Go down another one. Boom, boom, and we'll just put a little lonely one right there. There we go. And let's bring this up in scale just a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, we have, let's do one more branch right here, I believe. And I'm gonna go bring it down one, so it's behind, there we go. And then we'll have that branching out. Let's go one here, smaller one there, here, and maybe one right there. Okay, ooh, push one out, there we go. All right, so now you have your branches, okay? And your branches can go far out or not. It's up to you. You don't have to. You can just make the branches just a couple mountains going out. I exaggerated so you could see it easier, okay? Yeah, I love the mountains. I live in Oregon, and I live in a valley in between two mountain ranges, one called the Cascades, the other one called the Coastal Range. Absolutely beautiful. I love the mountains, so I totally understand that sentiment. It's beautiful. Mountains are so large that they kind of create their own weather. Oh wait, some information here. I haven't tested this myself, but have you ever found having mountain ranges next to each other looks weird? Not branches, but parallel mountain ranges. Essentially copy and paste. So they're parallel. So if you do copy and paste to make parallels, because valleys are in between two mountain ranges. That's what defines a valley. So if I was to take these two ranges if I was to take this range right here, copy paste, and put it over here like this. Let's just put it over here like that. I'll go ahead and delete some ranges here. Let's delete these ones. Boop, boop, boop. And I'll delete these branches right here, okay? This is what you should normally do if you're going to create a valley. Make sure that you delete some of the branches so that way there's a little bit space in the valley like that. But this is what a valley is. It's this space right here in between right here. This right here is what you would call a valley. All right? Oopsie, kind of hard to see that. Let me just throw in maybe a little bit darker color. There you go. You can see that right there is what a valley is, okay? And just again, for anyone who has information, feel free to share that, because I'm not the definitive word. So if you have information, even if it's contradicting information from what I'm saying, that's all right, because being wrong is a part of learning, okay? I don't mind being wrong. That's the only way that I'm going to learn. So get used to being wrong. That's how you learn. Believe me, I'm wrong all the time. And it's a great experience because, hey, I just learned something new. You know, how can you go wrong with that, right? All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to lock these lines, all right? So that is how you can go. Now, the beauty also about having mountain ranges is that you can copy and paste them and move them around instead of having to replace them every time. So you can go through like this and just copy paste them like this. Take segments, copy paste, you know, put them on like this. So there are all kinds of really interesting techniques. If you don't want to make individual ranges by hand, you can copy and paste. I mean, the beauty of Control-C, Control-V. Okay, I mean, just, or Command-C, sorry, all whatever your keyboard is, whether your platform. All right, hey, Rogue 13. Oh, yeah, some good information. I love it. Absolutely. Yes, break the rules if you need to. I will say this right now about relying too much on physics and realism is that, and this is just my opinion, by the way, I don't want to say that you can't do this, but in my personal experience, when you focus so much on the science of it, it kind of breaks your method. It kind of, not breaks your method, I guess it kind of discourages you. You get so caught up with like, is this right? Do I have these plates right? Is this mountain range correct? Look, it's just a guide, okay? It's not dogma, all right? Like in reality, it's fine. But for a map, it's a representation of reality. Give yourself a break, okay? Don't put more work on yourself. You'll get discouraged if you focus so much on reality. It doesn't mean abandon reality altogether. Of course not. Like, all maps are rooted in some form of reality. When you look at a map, it's recognizable because you see it in reality, right? You see mountain ranges and trees and land masses, of course, right? So don't hamper your process or increase your process. That means more time you spend on your map, like focusing too much on reality. Use it as a guideline, and rules are meant to be broken when it comes to map making, right? That's the fun of it. So I just want to say that this is just my opinion. It's not a fact, just personal experience, all right? Okay, so now that you've made those mountain ranges, of course, you're going to want to put in your foothills, right? So go in, pick a hill. Now, when it comes to my hills, I like to have them be around the same color as the mountains, okay? Now, that's not something that you have to do, but for more blending, for better blending, I try to keep it around the same material, all right? So brown mountains, brown hills, okay? Now, just like I did with the small mountains lining on left and right side, you'll be doing the same thing with your hills. What I recommend is start with hills at a fairly large size first, a couple of them. Throw in a couple large ones. Now, where you place them is really dependent on the negative space that you have. So you notice how I put one right there in the negative space. I put one right here. It's nice to also tuck them into your mountain. So tuck them in close if you need to. Okay, tuck them in nicely like the babies. You just tuck them right in. Sleepy, sleepy time, little hills. We love you. You go sleepy, sleep time. We tuck you in, okay? Just tuck them right in there. Put them in there. Don't be shy. Throw those puppies in there. And the reason why is because they look kind of nice. They look interesting when you throw in these hills. It kind of creates some more slope, some more more extending the line work a little bit, putting it together. Super nice, you see? So it's easy to go ahead and just put your hills in there. Now, once you put in those larger size ones, bring the scale down even more, okay? Bring the scale down even more. And when I say bring it down, I mean recognizable, right? If your large size hills are comparable or the same size as your medium size hill, then they're not medium size hills, okay? So make sure you bring them down to a size that is recognizably different. Once you've added in the medium size ones, Then you can go in and bring it down to a smaller scale, to even smaller, to represent those really tiny hills. And what I like to do is I try to keep the hills relatively close to each other. So the medium-sized ones are next to the large ones, while the small ones are next to the medium-sized ones, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and throw some medium-sized ones in here. Yep. There we go. There we go. We are doing it, folks. Now we're making the hills. Yeah, into the hills. Over the mountain and through the hills we go. Okay? All right, there we go. So now you put in those small hills. See, nice. That looks nice. All right, I'm going to go into my mask effects real quick and turn on my mask effects. When I have a black outline, turn off everything, bring the stroke way down. Whoa, dude, that is just way too big a stroke for me. I'm gonna have a stroke looking at those strokes. That stroke line, it's too thick, way too thick. There you go. Okay. So from here, what I like to do after I do this is I like to blend, okay? Blending. And blending is not complex, all right? You just need to find a texture that is rather similar in tone and color to the mountain ranges that you're using. It's really as simple as that. So you can use whatever style you want. You don't have to use textures from that particular style. I can say that you can mix textures between styles. There are exceptions, of course. Stamps across styles is a bit more difficult to accomplish, considering that there is a line thickness in the art that's much different, and so they might not go well together. I would discourage it, but hey, you can do whatever the heck you want, okay? You can do whatever you want. So I'm gonna go to Fantasy Regional HD. I'm gonna go ahead and just choose a texture that I want. I like to use these textures right here. Let me just apply it to see how it looks first. On the hill, set to FG. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that. Now first, what you'll do is just go over the entire thing. Make sure everything is covered. So all the hills, all the mountain bits, you cover those bits, okay? Cover them mountain bits with your textures, okay? So you've covered in the whole space that has the stamps. That's step one. Oops, some questions here. One thing I've learned from these guys that changed my life, luminosity blend. No more trying to change the hue of the stamp. Use a texture below the stamp and boom, so much easier. Absolutely, Rogue 13. Luminosity blend mode is a lifesaver. Holy schmoly. Why spend 20 minutes playing with HSBC when you can just change the blend mode to luminosity? Maintain what little sanity you have left, folks. Just maintain what little sanity you have left, okay? All right, ooh, you know what? I think I'm going to use, I want to use the edgy brush, actually, because the edgy brush is super cool. All right, so let's go with the edgy brush. Now, with the edgy brush, you always have to drop the opacity down because the way the edgy brush works is it's going to fill in cells, right? Okay, so if you have your opacity all the way up like this, you'll notice that, whoa, some really hard lines there, right? There's no softness setting around there. So the trick to that is you have to, of course, bring the opacity down quite a bit. And I'm also going to bring down the edge feature size right here to 3. And you'll see why that is, because they won't be quite as large. See how a little bit smaller they are now? And I think also I'll remove smooth. Let's see what it looks like when I have smooth off. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's bring the size down a little bit more. Okay. So now, again, go over just the sections where it is. Now, this is just your first pass, okay? And you can overlap a little bit, have it go a little further out, have it branch out a little bit from the range. Now you're going to bring the size down. Now you're going to do multiple single clicks. You can even bring the size up, or not the size, but the opacity to 25. I'm going to do single clicks like this, and I'm going to make sure that wherever my stamps touch the ground, that is where that texture is going to be the most visible, okay? So I'm single clicking to get in these nice things in here. Here you go. And we'll do more single clicks too with a smaller brush shortly. Just make sure first that the base of your stamps have this texture, okay? Now you can go bring the size down quite significantly smaller, and you can start doing some single clicks further out. Okay, now these single clicks, all I'm doing is just creating some transition. Okay, so now you have some transition there, and I tell you, the edgy brush is the way to go. Okay, so just a little bit of transition. So single click little dots with the edgy brush is how you, I don't know what the proper term is, but kind of diffuse the lines a little bit of your texturing, so that way it kind of diffuses outward a little bit. So it's a great technique. I totally recommend using the edgy brush. The only caveat is make sure you drop the opacity down to where when you are doing your single clicks, they'll build up onto each other. With each single click, with each layer, it will go up in more and more opaque, okay? All right, so let's see where we're at for change. We're 492 changes. Yikes! I should perhaps save, I think. You know me, I like to be on the danger zone. Boom. The danger zone. That's where I'm at. Okay. All right. So now I also want to show some techniques that I like to use to make your mountains pop, how to create atmosphere over your hills, how to create shadows. There's all these really cool techniques that I'm going to show you that to make your mountains look really, really cool. So first, I'm going to go ahead and just select mountain. So that way I select only all the mountains, okay? Next, I'm going to go to object. I'm going to go to shadow and go to object. Now you'll notice that there's a shadow and it's hovering. Don't worry, we're going to change these settings. And what we're trying to do is we're going to use contrast and ambient occlusion to allow the mountains to pop out, to make them look like they're layered, okay? So what we'll go in first, object shadow, I'm going to change it to black, or you can change it to a really dark brown. So if you do that, make sure it's nice and dark, nice dark brown here. Let's go down a little more. Okay, we're going to bring the offset up like this. We'll bring it down. I want to bring it down just enough. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and set this to 0 as well. So now you have that. Okay, so you'll notice that the mountain ranges, there is a dark contrast shadow that makes the mountains pop out. You notice that? Using that dark, using those shadows allows those mountains to go boom! They just pop right out. Okay? So there's that step. Okay? That's the first step. All right. Now now you can change these settings as you see fit. Maybe you want the shadow to be a little bit more to the side like this. So that way you have the shadows, and that way the light, now you'll notice that on the stamp, the light side of the mountain is on the left side, right? So it makes sense to kind of push the shadows I'm sorry, the shadows are on the left, the light is on the left side. The shadows should probably be on the right side, and I changed the horizontal offset to push them that way. Unfortunately, I used the wrong style, so the collision boxes are off, but you get the idea. You see what I'm trying to say. That by creating these shadows, you make them pop out, okay? So that's really that trick, all right? And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about doing it. Now, there are other things you can do with object shadows as well. You can create atmosphere. You can create cloud formations. Let's do that. Let's set all this back to 0. Let's put in a white object shadow. Let's bring the blur up quite a bit. Now let's bring it up, the clouds up. And let's bring the size down, bring that down, and now you have cloud formations above your mountain ranges. Really just as simple as that, right? Not complex. You can change the opacity of that white shadow to bring it down, but if you want to create a nice misty mountains, boom. It's as simple as that. Change that shadow to white, make sure the blur is large, and bring it up the vertical offset so that now you have nice cloud formations going right above your mountains. Now, there are more as well, tricks that you can do. Let's say you want to blend your mountains more into the ground, okay? You can use object shadows the exact same way. We'll do it again. Let's go with the brown object shadow. It's quite large, as you can see. Let's bring the opacity down. Bring it down. I'm going to bring that bring this all the way to 0 and then drop it down below. Okay, let's make it a little bit darker. Let's keep going. And you can create more transition with a brown shadow below your mountains. So object shadows for mountains are, you can do a ton of stuff with shadows if you know how to use them. It's just so much easier to use object shadows instead of trying to have to put down individual clouds strategically between this mountain, behind this mountain, in front of this mountain, above this mountain. Why the fudge muffins would you do that? Just use the object shadows, okay? Think smarter, not harder. Do what is going to be the easiest path forward, and it's going to take less time, because the objective is to speed up your process. Cut that process time down, okay? It's so much easier to cut your process down. Now, there's no way that you're going to make an incredible map in just a couple of hours, but you can take it from 7 hours to 5 hours, okay? From 5 hours to 3 hours. That is the trick, okay? You're always going to find ways to shorten the process, use techniques that speed it up. So it's as simple as that to apply mountains, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take a step back and just see how it looks. Yeah, it looks all right to me. Looks good. Now, don't forget that your mountains are where your lake or where your rivers start. Again, headwaters, sources. Remember all that stuff. You should ask yourself, when is it a good time to add clouds over your mountains? Well, all mountain ranges work just fine. But if you have a snowy mountain range, you can also use that white shadow above to represent a cloud, and then you can take sparks, scale it down, and make it look like little snow. Okay, so there's lots of different techniques. And in fact, I think in another stream, we're going to go over weather, I think, because it's always hard to decide where you want, how to do weather, okay? So those are the techniques so far that when it comes to mountains, it's going to make it easier for you. Personally, I love making mountain ranges. There's fun. There are some things, there are some caveats about mountains. People will tell you there's no such thing as a single mountain. Well, I would direct you to Tolkien, The Lonely Mountain. It's okay to break rules, okay? Are there lonely mountains? Yeah, actually volcanoes and dome technique of, or the formation of certain mountains, sure, okay. Do single mountains form from plate tectonics? Absolutely not. Of course not. That's why they're ranges, okay? Do you want to have, is it okay to put a lonely mountain? Absolutely not. You're going to mountain jail. No, I'm just kidding. You can totally make a single mountain. Now, one thing I recommend, though, if you are going to make a single mountain, there's something that I should mention about it, and that is you do want to put maybe some smaller mountains around the base and behind it, and maybe a couple hills, and that will create a transition, okay? It's just something you should keep in mind when you're doing a lonely little mountain. Put a couple little tiny land formations around it, okay? All right, now there are a couple more things that I also want to mention about mountain ranges. First, let me go back and let me think here. There was something that I wanted to showcase, and I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. Cool technique about making unique land formations. You can use the transform tool to make your mountain peaks much higher. Let me show you a technique. Let's go ahead and select this particular mountain peak right here. Select all from like this. Now we'll select every single mountain that's like that. Go to Advanced Settings, Transform, go to Height. And if you want to show some high, tall peaks, you can absolutely do that by changing the height, okay? And that is super important if you want to show some higher peaks. So just select a couple rando peaks. I recommend the larger ones. Those ones work much better, okay? Select these larger mountains, just a couple of them. Transform, boom, the height, okay? It's really as simple as that. This will give some more height variation between your mountains, making them look more realistic. It's always nice to maybe select a couple random mountains, the larger ones in the central part of the chain, and increase their height. Works wonders, absolutely magic. Now there are some other really cool techniques that you can also do to make your mountain ranges more interesting. You can also rotate them if you want. You see how I just rotated this just 15 degrees? And already it has an interesting looking effect, doesn't it? It looks so interesting now that I've changed that. Let me go ahead and undo that so you can see the difference. You see the difference? Cool, huh? Right? All you did was just rotate the range just a couple degrees, and you already give this kind of different feel to it. So always remember that you can change things as you see fit. If I want, I can go back in and I can rotate them in the various directions that I want. Lots of cool tricks. So always remember that you can rotate mountains to really, really get a different feel for it, okay? Super cool stuff. Just know that when you do the rotating, make sure you do it via, oopsie, my bad. Make sure you hold down that control key and use your mouse scroll wheel, okay? Let's unscrew that one here, okay. You can go as much angle as you want. Just know that you're gonna have to blend it. So if I want, I can go this angle, like this, if you want. That way you can have these kind of jagged mountains going outward. You know those fantasy mountains where they're off at an angle like that? All kinds of cool techniques. So always remember, you can rotate an entire range. Just make sure that when you do it, you do not do it with this yellow circular bar, because you're gonna rotate everything on a single point. Don't do that. Instead, select everything, hold down the control key, mouse scroll wheel, and that way you can rotate them at the angle you want. And it really, really just gives it some serious character. It's going to be much different. Just make sure that you don't do that with the hills. I recommend you only do that with the mountains. So go back. I'm going to select all my hills again because I ended up selecting everything. Let's select them all and go back, and I'll flatten those back out again, okay? It's just the mountains that you need to do that, okay? Now there are some other techniques that I want to show you with mountains that are really fun, and that is that you can use cliffs to show what's called fault lines. Okay, so we're going to do fault lines along a mountain range. Now first, I'm going to create a relatively large mountain range because I want to work at a scale that you can see. All right, so I'm going to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and make a little range. First, I'm going to turn off those object shadows. We don't need them. Okay, I know it's large, but I'm just scaling it up so that you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to put together some ranges here, and I'm going to show you how to use cliffs to show your fault lines. Okay, fault lines, pretty cool stuff. Okay, all right, so let's make sure the cliffs are at the right, or make sure these are at the right steps here. Push this one. Let's add in one more right here. Okay. Push that forward. There we go. Turn off the object shadow. Now I'm going to zoom in close so you can kind of see it. All right. So now we're going to throw in some cliffs. So let's go in and get some cliffs. Let's take these ones. So the trick to this one is lining up the line work. Okay. Not complex, super easy. All right. And you simply want the cliffs to follow the ridge, the mountain ridge. So if I line up this part right here, you'll notice that I've created a nice ridge right here. Okay, you can go in and do this with a bunch of different stamps. Okay, so you can go in, put this one here like this, or put it up here if you wish. Up to you. Change the size. Let's put down maybe another one like this. Okay, we'll rotate it. It has, so you see right here, now we have these cliffs that create these ridges right here. Very, very cool. You're going to have to do a little more work than that, but this is the general idea. You're creating these ridge lines, and this is going to create the illusion of more depth. All right, cliffs create the illusion of depth. That's why we're doing it. Okay, I'm just going to put down a couple more, and then I'm going to show you some plateau rocks. And this is a technique that I do. You don't have to do them. I personally love making these. They're just fun as fudge to make. So I'll show you how to make them, and they also work great for further transition. Okay, so let's start with creating the back of our rock plateau, then the front of our rock plateau, like this. Let's scale it, so make sure the line work is lining up. Okay, next step, I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to group it. Okay, now I can go in and place this strategically. Let's put one right there. Let's copy, paste. Let's rotate this one. Let's open it up and flip all the stamps. Okay, now you have another one, and of course you can scale them down in size. Put one here, copy, paste, put another one over here like this. Let's take the same one right here, copy, paste, and we'll put that one, let's say over there. Okay, so now you have these nice plateau rocks right here, and it kind of creates more transition. It looks weird when you just have these cliffs right here like this, and it just creates this line, right? And that line is just harsh on the eye. So breaking up that line just means making some plateau rocks with some cliffs, and make sure that you put them in a location that kind of works like a puzzle piece. You see how this edge right here of this plateau rock kind of fits against that cliff. Same thing with this one. This one works fine. You see how it goes up against this one right here like this. This one right here like this, okay? And it's really as simple as that. And you can copy and paste, change the sizes. You can select them both, change the width of both. So I'm afraid, let me fix that, my mistake. Select them both, go back to normal, my mistake, there we go. And you can control, could change the width of both of them. So if you don't want to have a smaller, thicker one, just go ahead and do that, okay? So that way they're not all the same size, okay? So it's really as simple as that. Learn that the transform tool is your ally, okay? All right. I'm gonna go ahead and save for right now, and we'll go ahead and show you a couple more techniques. We're gonna make some mountain hats. In a previous stream, I showed you how to make mountain hats. So we are going to make mountain hats, all right? Hey, even mountains need to dress up from time to time, okay? To enjoy themselves, all right? All right. Now, I want to also mention real quick that it's also really useful to randomly rotate individual mountains. So earlier I showed you how you rotated the entire range. You can also create interesting mountains by just rotating a couple in one direction, rotating another one in another direction, rotate this one in that direction, this one in this direction, this one in this direction, okay? And you can really create some more interesting and unique looking formations when you start rotating individual ones. And I like to do it in a specific order. I had one go to the left, the next one after that goes to the right, left, right, left, right, left, right. You don't have to do that, but it's just an easy formula that I like to use, okay? So it's really as simple as that, not complex. So let's go ahead and make some mountain hats. Let's say that you want to create unnatural looking formations on your mountains to make them look more interesting, okay? So we'll take one mountain, and I'm going to change the width altogether. Just there you go. Now you have this nice, sharp peak. Now I'm going to push it up a layer, and then I'm going to put it right on top like this. Now the trick, of course, is to make sure that the line work is lined up. So you notice here that I lined up the line work to where the ridge is lining up with the ridge of that one. So now you have this really weird looking peak. Now this is if you want to make some really interesting and unnatural looking formations, okay? It's fantasy. Of course, there's going to be some weird, freaky shit, okay? That just happens, all right? It's fantasy. Make some freaky, deaky, weird stuff. It's more fun, okay? All right, let's go ahead and throw this on here. So I got a nice little cap here. You know, it gets cold up there, all right? These guys, they got these caps to keep themselves nice and warm and, yeah, it's, whew. You don't want to get cold out there. It's pretty cold up there in those mountains, all right? So you put on those mountain hats, you understand me? You put them on immediately. So we'll go ahead, same thing. We'll go ahead and make a peak. I'll bring the scale down, bring it up a layer, and put another one on top like that. So this is how you're going to make some rather unique and kind of weird looking formations. Now, of course, you can make several peaks, make several of these. So let's say you want to put another one right here. You want to put another one right here, okay? There's all these different things that you can do. So you can create these really, really crazy looking formations when you really just take the time to kind of decorate your mountain ranges. Now, of course, when it comes to these mountain ranges, these ones are, you're not going to want to decorate every single range with these peaks. It's just those unnatural, weird peaks. So that way you're not going to end up going, wait a minute, do I have to put a mountain hat on every single mountain? Mati, I like my sanity. Would you please tell me why I have to do this? Look, you only have to cap them unless you have to, unless it's unnatural, all right? So don't cap every single one of those mountains, all right? Just some of them. All right. So kind of an interesting technique you can do is just put some spike on top of those mountains, all right? Just know that you might have to do a little bit of tweaking and work to make it look right, okay? But it's a nice technique to use if you want to have some unnatural, funky dealio mountain ranges, all right? Okay. Sweet. Where are we at here for time? Ooh, we've gone in 1 hour. We've covered so much. Sweet. Nice, right? Super easy stuff. All right, so we've covered quite a bit in here. Since we're in that hour mark, I'm trying to think what else I was supposed to mention with mountains. I don't think there's anything else for this style, so likely we'll move on to watercolor cities. Is there any questions that people have about mountain ranges for Fantasy World before we move on to the next segment, which is going to be watercolor cities? It could even apply to watercolor battle maps if you wanted to, really any of the battle map style. So if you have any questions first about mountain ranges in the world style, regional, whatever styles, please let me know. We'll answer that first, and then we'll move on to the next section because we're at the top of the hour. 11 o'clock PST. Any questions? Hit me with them. Come on. Shh. I want you to hit me with those questions. Just throw them directly at my face until I fall out of my chair. Easy to wait mountain passes. Well, okay, so for Fantasy World, the scale is so small that you likely won't see that, but you totally can. When it comes to mountain range, when it comes to that, you can use cliffs to show specific directions. So let's say that I wanted to show a mountain pass. You could go in here like this. I'm just going to go ahead and use these to kind of create an illusion of a pass going inward. So let's do this one like this. And you'll notice right here that there is a little section right here for your pass, right? Now just make sure that you go in to the other side and make sure that you have the same. So if you want to show a pass, you're obviously going to have to show where it leads out at the other end, okay? Not complex, just use the cliffs like you just did before, like this, okay? And we'll make sure that you include a way for them to get out. So this is the other part right here, all right? And the way that I would do to show the pass is, of course, to use a path, right? It's really not complex, right? So let me go ahead and just delete this. We know where the locations are. If you need to, just make some arrows with the path tool and leave them there for later, and you can kind of go over it. But definitely I recommend just use the cliffs to kind of represent where the mountain goes inward and there's a pass there. So clearly the pass is going to be like that, okay? Now, if you're going to show it on the actual map, you can totally do that. Generally, I like to push the path behind instead of forward like this. So that way it looks like the path is in the back. Okay, so that's how you can do your mountain pass. Just use the cliffs to indicate an opening or a part of the pass where players can go in. It's really as simple as that, not complex, okay? All right, yeah, keep asking questions. Any more? We'll give it 2 seconds. No more questions. Just kidding. Yeah, any more questions, let me know, okay? It doesn't look like it. That's fine by me. Sweet. Okay, so we're going to go over to the next section then. We're going to go over to here, and we're going to do watercolor cities. And I'm going to show you how to make a kind of mountain formations, or at least sections of a mountain. Obviously, a city is not going to be on an entire mountain. That would be a massive city, but you can show sections of a mountain in which a city is built. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. First, let's just go ahead and make this entire square right here with the add mode of the mask tool. Okay, so here's the add mode. This whole section is done. Okay, there we go. We're at 49 changes. I'm going to save that real quick, okay? While we go into the next segment. Sweet. Awesome. This has been a lot of fun. Man, mountains are so much fun. So I'm also going to refresh the page because I've done a lot of saves and changes. So let's just refresh the page. It's always nice to do this from time to time. It's a way to avoid internet timeouts with your computer. So saving and refreshing will completely clear the map history. So when you open it back up, there's not as much data in the map history, and you'll have less lag, less chance of an internet timeout, okay? Because Google actually has a limit, the megabytes limits on how much a tab can have on a tab. Kind of a jerky thing, but hey, that's how it works. So just remember, save, refresh, okay? Elevation differences in mountains, towns are fascinating. Absolutely, King Clown. In fact, I think next month I'm going to be doing a perspective guide. Okay, perspective for both the styles, world and top down. I'll be showing you how to make world where you can see off in the distance things are much smaller, things close to you are much larger. So next month, super excited, I'm going to show you how to do perspective. All right, so with cities, of course, you want to, when it comes to making a city, this is not a city guide, but one thing that'll help you with a city, if you're wanting to make a mountain city, of course, make the land formation, make the mountain first. Okay, that, of course, all right? Now, the easiest way to go about doing that with cities is just to use pre-made stamps that already have, let's see, come on now, already have formations on it, all right? You're going to be working a lot with these. These are really, really helpful. It's going to save you a lot of time to use a bunch of these. You will end up piecing some together to make more unique shapes, but you can use these to your advantage for the time being. So you start with, I like to create the largest one first. So I start with a really large one. Let's just say that this is one section of it, all right? We'll go in with individual stamps shortly. So there's one elevation. Let's say that I want to create a second section of the city with another on top like that, okay? So now there's another elevation there. So we're slowly creating a series of peaks, plateaus, or whatever it is you want to show, a flat part of a mountain, whatever you want, okay? So we got that part. Now, let's say that you wanted to make a mountain pass, okay? You can totally make a mountain pass. You can just put two together like this, and then there's your mountain pass in between the two of them, okay? So there you have a pass. Now, you'll have to do more work, of course. We're going to do a lot more than just these pieces. We're going to put together a lot because so far we've just created the platform or these raised sections. That's not the whole mountain. You're never going to see the whole mountain, okay? So don't focus so much on trying to make the whole mountain. Just a segment of the mountain is plenty, is just fine, okay? Let's keep adding more and more segments. Let's say that we want to have another peak right here. Okay, so another peak there. And we'll just say that's good for now. Now you want to go in and use the exact same stamp that we were just using right here. These ones are right here. And now you're going to create the larger segments by piecing them together. Yeah, it's not the favorite. I don't really care for it, but this is what you need to do. So first, let's just make the overall shape. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate, copy, paste a whole bunch like this. Let's go ahead and just put it up against right here and call that good. Let's do the same thing. We'll go this one, and I'm just going to rotate through each one like this. All right, I'm just going to keep piecing these all together. I'm going to be putting a lot of these together probably to create a very unique shape, because that's what you want to go for, is try to make some unique shapes, because there's a lot of ridges, there's a lot of that stuff in cliffs and stuff. So I'll go ahead and maybe create another one, and you don't have to connect all of them, okay? So if you want, you can have some that are just sitting rando like this. There's not much going on. You can have one connect there like this. Maybe that one's done. You can go in and create, go ahead and take that larger one, boost the scale up, and put this one right here like this. Put another one, let's say another one right here like this. Let's put another one like this. Let's put another one over here like this. Okay, so you're putting these all together. You're putting, it's not complex. See, that just took about, what, 5 minutes to put those together? Not too long. The land formation is easier than you think to put together, okay? So just put a whole bunch of them together, okay? And we're going to create a whole series of ridges and stuff like that, okay? And we're also going to, you can even put them underneath each other to continue on a ledge going into where our pass is. Put another one. Let's connect this one with this one, I think. Should be just fine. Let's do that one like that. Okay, let's keep going. Let's add more. Let's put another one maybe that goes, let's see here. Let's keep adding more and more. Let's put some more on the outside like this. So let's put one right here like this. Put another one right here like that. Another one. I'm kind of creating these tiers. All right, so we got another one there. Perfect. Okay, let's say that's enough for right now. There's a lot there. Let's go ahead and move this city text over to here so it's not overlapping. And let's go ahead and fill this entire section with a texture real quick. Not that white, it looks odd. Watercolor cities, I think this one should be okay for now. We're just going to go ahead and fill it, FG. Let's go ahead and use this tool. Enter. Okay. All right, there you go. All right, so now you have a series of 4 formations. Okay, so the next step, I also want to mention this. If you want, you can also change the luminosity. So sometimes there may not be a texture that works perfectly with cliffs. All right, so what you can do is you can go to luminosity. Oopsie, we'll select them all. Make sure they set to luminosity. Did I select them all? Let me see here. Is it all luminosity? Yes, it is. Okay. And then you can also change the brightness or the contrast to kind of bring out the highlights or to diminish them. You can change the contrast to diminish some of the line work or really bring the line work out. Okay, so experimenting is going to be super important. Okay, now when it comes to showing height, I have a technique of using a range, using one color and changing its brightness in a spectrum. All right, so I'll show you how I do that. All right, so what I like to do is take one texture. All right, this one texture right here. I'm going to go to advanced settings, go to filters, and I'm going to change the brightness. I'm going to bring it down. Okay, immediately favorite that. Immediately go to favorites. Now I'm going to go back to filters. I'm going to change the brightness, bring that up quite a bit, and then I'm going to favorite that texture. Now you'll notice in my favorites here that I have those 2 colors. Okay, now the highest peaks, the highest points are going to be using the brighter color, brighter variation, and the parts below are going to be using the darker variation. Okay, so let's go ahead right now, use the edgy brush, and we're going to drop the opacity down. Okay, we're not going to go full opacity. All right, let's just first paint the bottom, the furthest down you have, which is right here. Okay, this is the lowest part right here. So we're going to fill it in with this texture. We're going to fill the whole thing in with this texture. Okay, probably should have used a larger brush. It's okay if you overlap, by the way. All right, so first step, okay, go in. This is that darker part. Now you already see a difference already. You've already noticed that this is darker and this is lighter, and it already is slowly forming a little bit of contrast to create peaks, okay? Once you've done that first pass down there, go ahead and do a second one, okay? Do a second one. Don't cover the whole thing, just have it go out a little bit like this, okay? Go in, bring the size down, and do it again, right against in here, like this, all right? There you go. Now you have a little bit of variation, okay? Let's go ahead and also do these pieces right here. So we'll go in and select. I'm going to go around a little bit into these areas. Don't worry about overlapping. We're going to do some changes. Don't worry. This is just to put in some contrast. Don't put them on the highest peaks. Remember, only put them in the medium parts, okay? Now we're going to go with our lightest texture, okay? Remember, the highest peaks are the brightest. So let's go in and put in one pass, okay? One pass. Fill it in. Now, it's not very noticeable right now, as you can see, because it's not that bright. So we'll have to put in another pass, of course. And if it's not enough, you can bring the opacity up to a higher one and then just go in and make them brighter. Now you'll notice right away that there is a difference. You'll notice that it gets, I'm gonna do some single clicks here as well to really bring out those bright shapes, okay? But you'll notice that these lighter pieces, they pop out, right? Because you've used contrast. So if you wanna know how to show some height variation in a top down, this is how you do it, okay? You're gonna, and it's only using one texture. All you're doing is just changing the brightness to make it darker or lighter. It's as simple as that. You don't have to use 18 textures to do this. You only need to use one, and you only have to change the brightness, okay? And that's it. It's really as simple as that, okay? Now, one other thing that you can do is use that same texture, and you can create some highlights along the edge of your cliffs. Now you'll notice on the edge of these cliffs, there's already built in some highlights, and it looks kind of weird, doesn't it, against this dark texture? Well, that's okay. You can go in, let's go with 23%, and let's do some single clicks like this, and you can create some little highlights along your ledge here. Okay, a little bit of highlights. Let's do another one along here. Let's bring the opacity up quite a bit. Let's go with 80. All right, let's really get that bright along those ridges. Bring it back down to 57 here. There we go. A little too much. Bring it back down. Go here. So you're just going to take these little ones. Let's actually bring the size. Sorry, that edge is a little big. There we go. These are little smaller ones, a little bit better ones. There you go. And all you're doing is just kind of creating the illusion of highlights all along, just single clicks. And you can particularly do it along the brighter sections. You notice right here, there's a bright section. Let me just zoom in real close. See this bright highlight along this cliff here? Great location to go ahead and start putting down your lighter variation. And that's it, really. It's as simple as that, really. Okay, you're just taking your highlights, all right? Okay, so that is as simple as it gets when it comes to showing the depth part and putting in highlights. Now there's also shadows, right? We want to do shadows, right? How do I do shadows for a top-down mountain? Not complex, pretty easy stuff. Of course, you always need to choose your light direction. So let's put down some paths. Let's not do that one. Let's do a larger width. Let me save real quick because I'm at 326 changes. Just so you know, these single clicks really add up into your history. Okay, so you're probably going to end up having thousands, probably. Now, you don't have to do that, of course. You can just do single, just click, hold, and drag, and you can still create highlights without single clicks. I just do single clicks because I think that the transition is better. Okay, just my opinion. You don't have to do that, okay? So now we need to create a light source, of course. Where is the light coming from? So you need to choose the light source. So let's just say that the light is coming from this direction, okay? Now, this is pretty simple. The shadows are going to project away from the direction that the light is pointing. So shadows are going to be in that same direction, right? So sometimes you can put a guide down next to your hills or your mountains, so that way you kind of know where the shadows are going to be, okay? It's just a little guide to kind of give you a reminder, okay, of where my shadows are going to be. Oopsie, I did not mean to do this. This is illegal. How did I do that? Okay, so just remember where your light source is. You can throw down those same arrows as a guide. You don't have to, up to you. I don't need them because I just know which direction they're going in, but for you, absolutely use them if you need to. Now you're going to use the edgy brush, and you're just going to use the same dark texture that we just had right here. Okay, it's really that easy. So let's bring up to about 36. I'm going to bring the size up. Now what's really nice about the edgy brush for shadows, especially with cliffs, is you can really show some hard edges as you would expect, right? Shadows are not perfectly smooth, right? It's going to show some weird angles and cracks, right? So the edgy brush works great for that. Let's go ahead and just apply what it looks like first. And I think that looks just fine. Let's bring it down bring it up a little bit more. Let's undo. And I'm going to go ahead and first make the shadows for every single thing. Now, if you want to know how elongated a shadow is, that would determine on the time of day. Now, if it's midday, you don't have to create elongated shadows, but I do recommend that you do ambient occlusion. So let's quickly just do one example of what ambient occlusion is so that you can see what I mean by that. So if I take this right here and I really want to show depth, I would go in with a very hard brush. Let me go in real quick. I'm going to zoom in real quick. One moment. Ooh, a lot of lag here. What is causing the lag? Why? I loved you. Why? Okay, let's just see how this looks real quick. Is this dark enough? I think it could be a little darker, but let's just use it for now, okay? Remember, ambient occlusion is just where the ground and whatever it is on the ground touches it. So this cliff hits the ground. We want to show that there is a difference between the ground and the cliff. We're going to use ambient occlusion. And so I'm going to go in like this. I'm going to go at the base of the cliff. Oh man, this is causing some serious lag here. Wow. Oof, my goodness. Ooh. Okay, do this. I'm going to do one here as well. Just one moment. And we'll do this one as well. There we go. Okay, so you'll notice that right away, this portion right here seems to pop out more, right? It pops out a little bit more because you've added that line. Now that line is a bit hard, and so we could diffuse that a little bit more, and we probably will. So what I'll do is I'll bring down the opacity, of course, increase the size, and you can kind of go in and kind of just push it out a little bit to kind of diffuse that line a little bit more. And you can use single clicks, by the way, to do that. So I can go in, let's bring it all the way back up again to a larger setting and just do some single clicks. And you can kind of diffuse this line. Hey, Brian, woo! The Lord Marshal has arrived. Oh, fealty to the Great One. All right, so I just created a little bit of ambient inclusion right there, and it's not really enough to actually kind of create the depth I want. So I'll go in instead with a color. I'll go with black. I'm going to turn off the edgy brush here because I am going to end up using a softer edge instead. Let's just apply it real quick because I really want to get that ambient inclusion in, which is just going to mean it's going to be so much darker at where the mountain or the cliff reaches the land below. Okay, so I'll try to put in this very, very thick kind of line. There we go. Now we're getting that dark kind of thick line that I want. There we go. Nice. Those dark lines are what are going to create your ambient occlusion or your depth. Okay, let's go ahead and throw those in here. Hey, first time chat. Meyerling, welcome. Hey, I'm glad that you're listening in. That's great. I love these. I absolutely love making streams. They're so much fun. I love sharing my knowledge, and I love hearing other people's knowledge as well. So it's so much fun. Really appreciate you being here. And I hope to see you in future streams as well if you can make it. I know that people are busy. You got jobs, you got kids, you got school, you got life. Whew, super busy, you know? All right, I see a question there. Let me just go ahead and finish putting this ambient inclusion here. Then I'll zoom out so you can take a look at it so you can see the difference. Okay. Question for you. Are there any plans for port town assets for regional city maps? A water's edge like shipyard docks with the regional style? Go to our Discord and there is an art request channel. If you're not on Discord, make sure that when you do sign up, you go to the #roles channel, add the Inkarnate role, and we absolutely document every single one of these requests. So now just know a little caveat that just because you requested it doesn't mean that it's going to be done or done soon, even if it gets done. We're a very small team. We don't have a lot of people on our team, so things take time. And of course, there are thousands of requests, so we clearly can't get to all of them, but just know that we do catalog them, we do keep an eye on them, we do see what is popular, and that way we can kind of keep track and kind of give you the art that you want. Okay, so also be sure to type in the search field that if that request has already been added, because it's possible that it already was. And one thing you don't want to do is to make multiple requests of the same request, because then it diverts those votes. The more votes, the more likely your request will be made. So it would be really stinky if you made a request and it only had 5, while there's another request, couple up above, of that same one. And hey, so make sure that you look for it and give it a thumbs up, and the more likely that the team will address it, okay? I'm going to save and refresh the page. I'm getting some serious lag, so maybe that's just caused by some issues. So I'll just go ahead and refresh the page, save, refresh, and we'll continue on. Where are we at for time? 24 minutes? Yeah, we got time. Sweet. Let's refresh. Refresh, refresh, refresh. We're refreshing you. I have been refreshed. I will take this beverage and feel refreshed immediately. Coffee. It wakes me up. I am only half alive. I am the undead map maker. Zombie cartographer strikes again. Alright. I'm not sure what's causing that silly laggy farty, but yucky. So we'll fix that. Let's see how much lag here. Let's apply a texture down. See what's going on here. What is the meaning behind this? There we go. Yeah, less laggy, so that's nice. There we go. Okay. All right, sweet. Okay, so let's go in, take that dark texture that we had before, edgy brush, remember, bring the size down, bring the opacity down, bring the size down, and we're going to do these harder textures up against every single ledge. So let's do these passes at the ledge right here. Okay, remember we did the highlights at the top. Oopsie. You see the highlights at the top? That's the lighter texture where the cliff is on the top part, but below you're going to use a darker brown texture. Remember, you just took one texture, changed the brightness range. One dark, one light, one's the medium one. That's the texture default without anything, okay? You're going to go along each ledge at the base. Don't go above, okay? And you're going to create a little bit of dark line underneath, okay? Again, we're using contrast and ambient occlusion to create depth. That is the secret. So let's go ahead and do it here as well, right here, like this. Put one along this ledge, here, all the way along here, like this, all along here. Okay, one along here. There we go. We're just going to keep doing it. We're just going to keep adding at the base. There we go. At the base. Let's take a step back. Okay, fine. One more here. Okay. All right. So we've done that part. We put a little bit of that around each one. Now, of course, we did before. We want to take a little bit of a darker texture and just put a little bit at the base. Like this, a little bit of darker texture, and then we'll do that ambient occlusion as well, and then we'll do the shadows. Okay, we'll do the shadows. We'll paint in the shadows. 1 second while I go through all this stuff. Ooh, unfortunately, Bazooka, they're talking about the regional style. They want it in regional, not top down. The shipyards, I do believe, are city stamps, but that's nice of you to say so, but I do believe they were specifically referring to regional, unless I misread it, which I totally could have. Maybe you're correct. You know, would be really cool though. I can show you guys how to make a shipyard with Fantasy Regional. You just have to do a little bit of finagling. It's easier than you think, trust me. Okay, so I'm going to quickly just throw in that darker section around each one, and don't forget that ambient occlusion. I'm not going to do every single one, because it will take more time to do every single one, but I'll try to do it as quickly as possible, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I'll throw in, if it's not perfect, I do apologize, but time is of the essence, my friends. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I hope I didn't embarrass you there. My mistake. I embarrass myself every day, all day long. Pretty much any time I open my mouth. Why did I say that, dummy pants? Okay, so again, that ambient occlusion, just take that dark color, black. It doesn't have to be super, super dark. I made it really dark there. You don't have to make it that dark, okay? But you're just gonna go around every single one of these edges. Oopsie, let's remove that edgy brush and use that circle brush instead. Bring the size up, there we go. And just kind of make this dark line that kind of goes around the base, right? And again, ambient occlusion, this is how you're going to create the illusion of height, because what you're doing, all ambient occlusion is just contrast. You're using dark against a little bit lighter to make the object that you're trying to highlight with this black shadow around the edge of it, is to make it pop out, and that popping out is what is the illusion of depth. Okay, you see this black line right here? It made it pop out more. So that is really the trick to height. And you're going to do it to walls, you're going to do it to cliffs, you're going to do it to whatever you want. I'm not going to do it to every single one of them because also it will show you the difference between ones that have it and the ones that don't. So if you look carefully here, this one doesn't have that dark line around it, but you notice that the one above does, right? So there is a huge difference. All right, so now let's go ahead and do shadows. Now, there are a couple ways to go about shadows, all right? Now, and there's a caveat that comes with each one, okay? But for your hills, for this one, I'm just gonna use, the brush for right now. So I'll use the brush. I'm gonna increase the size, and I'm just gonna go ahead and just apply it real quick just to see what it looks like first. Oopsie, I want to use the edgy brush, by the way. The edgy brush. Here we go. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go in like this and kind of create the general shape of the shadow. It can change, by the way. It can change. Put it in here. Let's put one right here. Let's see here. I think that's okay for now. Okay. Now, the one thing that you'll notice is that you'll notice that it may be dark, there may be a shadow right here, but it's still light on this side. Well, I'm going to show you a cool trick on how to show shadows on the side of your mountains. So what you're going to do is just take a cliff, put it right on top like that. And you're just going to take let's make sure we remove it to luminosity, of course. All right. And then all you're going to do now is just drop the brightness. And now you have the dark side. And it's really as simple as that, okay? It's really that easy. So now you can go in, copy and paste, put each one on these dark sides so that you have a dark side. Okay, let's copy, paste, put some on this side. Sometimes it might not be the right size, so you might have to change things around a little bit. That fits right about there. That fits okay. Let's go ahead and take another one. I'll use the right side. Let's go with this one. Put this one right here. If it's too dark, you can also change the brightness as you see fit, okay? Okay. All right, so now you can see here that you've put in the darker side. And all you did was just take the same stamp set, make sure it's set to the same blend mode, and just drop the brightness. And that's all you had to do, okay? And you can do the exact same thing with the front side to show your brightness. Okay, that's up to you too. You don't have to, but I'll show you just so you can see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to change it to luminosity, of course. And if you want to have the light side showing, you can totally do that. Let's put one down like this. Let's increase the brightness. And you can totally have that representing the bright side. So it's really, really not that complex. Now, it is time consuming to go through all that. You don't have to do that, but you know what? If you do have the time, then it does make a difference. It does show, it does pop out. So putting in these kind of lighter ones and darker ones in sections can help to show more depth transition. If it's too bright, just change it. That's all you have to do, okay? So it's really not complex. It can be time consuming. I will tell you that. It can be. So it just happens, okay? So that is how you can show the varying depths, okay, with painting. And I'm going to real quick just go over the process I just mentioned. We put down you use the composite, the larger cliff stamps first, right? You place them down. Then you're going to carve out, you're going to use the smaller ones, put them on top to show your highest points, okay? Then you're going to piece together some smaller ones. So let me just quickly grab the path tool so I can kind of go over each segment so you can see what I'm talking about. Because unfortunately, my window capture does not capture my mouse, okay? So first step, you put down these larger pieces like these, okay? You put on these full composite pieces like this. That's step one, okay? Next, you put down your highest peaks. So these points right here are your highest peaks. So you just took those same composite stamps and just placed them down, okay? Now you've done that part, right? So you finish that. Once you finish that part, you go on the next part. You piece together some cliffs to create your ridges, okay? These are your ridges, right? We're creating some ridges here, right? I pieced this together, right? Oh, I didn't piece that one together. I think that's separate, okay? But you have your ridges, right? After you finish doing every single one of those, of course, the next step is to show difference in heights, okay? You noticed here that when I went into my favorites here, that I had this texture right here, and I changed it. I made one variation of the same texture lighter and the one darker. I used that darker texture, and whenever the lowest part of the map, this part right here, this is the lowest part of the map, the lowest elevation, I use the darker texture on that section, okay? The highest point, these points right here, are going to be of the much lighter texture, and for obvious reasons as well, right? It's higher up, more exposure to the light, and no obstructions hitting it, okay? So that is really how simple it is to make your mountain ranges when you do it with your watercolor cities. Hey, Meyerling. Oh, this is the first one you've ever watched? Hey, I'm so glad. I hope you'll watch more. And just so you know, Meyerling, we record these and then we put them on our YouTube channel. So that way you don't miss anything. Maybe you missed the stream, you got kids, work, school, whatever. Don't worry. We add it to our YouTube. I'm going to upload it right after this. It's going to upload during my lunch, and it will be there for everyone to watch. So if you missed anything, don't you worry. Don't you fuss, my friends. Don't you fuss, not even a little bit. Don't you worry. We are going to help you out. So Cheryl just went ahead and provided the link to our YouTube. Go check that out. We have like 100+ videos, and we have hundreds more to make, my friends. Believe me, a lot. Okay, so really, that is how you would put together your mountains, or if clip, you can also have them be, you can change the whole thing to be hills instead of grassy hills, grassy knolls. It can be that too. It's whatever you want, right? It's up to you, whichever way you want to do it. I'll go ahead and take an HSBC filter here, and I'll change things so you can see if I can get a green, and you can make your, you just turned your mountains into a green hills, right? That's all I did was just change the HSBC. Didn't have to repaint anything. Didn't have to do any of that stuff. Boom. Let's say you want it to be a fey mountain. You want it to be a mesa with some oranges, right? Let's boost that saturation. Let's really bring out that color. Let's say you want to make a mesa. Let's say you want it to be underwater. Now you've got it blue. Okay, so really you have all these different options that you can do to turn your landscapes into multiple things. So use filters. Use the HSBC filter, use the U, and you can get a lot of different variations. Okay, so because you can turn one battle map into 12 using the HSBC and the U. This could be fey, this could be grassy knolls, could be mountain, could be mesa, could be desert. All you have to do is just change the U with the HSBC slider. If you aren't getting the color that you want out of it, just bump up the saturation, and that way the color will pop out more. See, I got my green hills. Now I got midday. Now I've got the mesa. Go more over, get some purples, more a fey again. Let me move over a little bit more. Some more fey, okay? So get more bang for your buck. There's no need to create 12 battle maps. You can create 5 with just one, with a filter and changing some of the stamps. Now, clearly, if you were to do that HSBC and you have one that's a mesa and one that's a forest with hills, clearly you're going to want to delete some of those trees, right? But you can change the landscape to make it multiple maps. I know some of you are private contractors. They're trying to make their daily bread, bring home the bacon. by selling your work. So give yourself less work and make 5 maps with 1 using HSBC filter to change contrast, to change the hue, to change the saturation, to change the brightness, the lightness, whatever it is you want, okay? So get more bang for your buck. To make 1 map into 5, less work for you, more money for you, okay? So just factor that in when you're making your maps. I totally recommend it. We have a stream on filters. Go watch that. Check it out. It's on YouTube. It'll show you how to use all the filters. And by the way, next month, I will be doing a stream on how to create your own map style, okay? Because you know, it's really frustrating when you're trying to emerge from a community of people and a lot of the maps kind of look the same. And that's no fault of users. It's because, you know, you're making your maps and a lot of the art is similar, of course. So I'm going to be teaching you how to make your map just totally stick out from other maps so that way more users will be like, hey, oh, I recognize this style. This is Nemrod. This is Cheryl. This is Brian, I recognize this style. That is how you make your stuff pop, okay? Is to maybe step outside of the regular. Do something a bit different. HSBC filters are a great way to really make your maps pop out from other maps, as well as inventing new map styles. And all it requires is just some experimentation, okay? Take some time, go into Pinterest, look up all your favorite maps. Okay, look up all your favorite maps on Pinterest that you have or Google Images and favorite those, look at them, and just try to replicate the style in the tool. Okay, so practice, practice, practice. All right. Now, are there any other questions that people have? I think I've gone over mountains. I think for this style, I've done shadows, done light sources. I think I've covered ambient occlusion. I've covered how to show elevation using light, lots and lots of stuff. If people have other things that questions that they have about this, let me know. We're getting done a little early, so that's kind of nice. When will the June schedule be released? Well, probably either tomorrow or next week. Actually, in fact, it's probably going to be today or tomorrow. Okay, so it's already on my profile. I've already made it public. So, but I will put it up in stream announcements probably after the stream. I'll also put that stream calendar on YouTube as a post so that people can see it. Lots of fun stuff. In fact, I think I even copied it, cloned it, and put it on my thing. Why don't we go over that calendar, actually? Great idea. Let's just go over that. Before I do that, though, does any more questions before we do this? Because I don't want to skip any questions that people have about top-down mountains, okay? Please let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go over that, okay? So I'll just wait here a moment for people to have any questions. I don't want to leave anyone hanging. And please ask questions, because sometimes people will have this question and they're too afraid to ask. Someone else will. So ask any questions you have. Don't be shy. Okay? Do not be shy. If you don't have any questions, no pressure. Pressure. Buckle. Ask me your damn questions. Ask them now. Give them to me. Give them to me now. I will be attending a lot more of these sessions. So helpful. I just wish I didn't join in the last 15 minutes. I'm sorry, Meyerling, but hey, don't worry. It will get added to. Okay? So to YouTube, and I'll make sure that it's there. Why are you so awesome? Oh, I don't know. I think it's just all the people in my life. That must be it. It's the people in my life that make me awesome, I guess. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so why don't we check out the calendar, right? So let's go out of here, go to my prayer. See y'all? Okay. Hold on a second. Here it is, right here. So here is the June calendar. Okay, so here we go. All right. So here is the way it goes. So Wednesday, the 1st. Oh, I just want to mention real quick that on the 30th, that's next Monday, I'm taking that day off. So I won't be doing that stream on Monday, so that will be off. Don't worry, I'll probably put some videos on YouTube, but there won't be any Twitch stream on it. Is it an African swallow or is it an American swallow? What difference does it make? Where's the coconut? An African sweater? What is your favorite color? Blue. No, I mean, woo! All right, okay, let's do this. All right, so here is the schedule for June. So the first one is going to be how to create perspective on Wednesday, the 1st. And I got that, and I'm going to be showing you how to do perspective, and there are multiple ways to do perspective with the tool, really 2 styles. One's going to be world, where you have stamps in the background, much smaller, stamps in front, and then I'll also do top down, okay? So I'll show you how to do perspective. I made 2 guides on perspective. Those are on my profile. You can find them there, clone, edit them, okay? Go ahead and use them. Thursday, the next day, we'll do map frames. I'm really excited about that. Map frames are a great way to make your maps pop out, to make it pop out from other mappers. Cartographers, a lot of people who use the tool do not make their own map frames, do not have map frames. Frames are a way to make them pop out. It's a way to frame your map. It's a way to add lore and details. So we're definitely going to be going over that, okay? Now, the week of the 5th, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be on vacation. I got my birthday coming up. I'm going to be visiting family on the coast, so I will not be doing any streams. Probably will be uploading videos to YouTube on Monday and Wednesday, though, so that will probably happen. Now, on the 13th, the Monday, we're going to be finishing our Points of Interest stream. That's with the Fantasy World style. Love those. We're going to be doing how to create good versus evil battle maps on the 15th. Woohoo, that's going to be fun. And, of course, the 20th, that's where the map style is going to be coming in. We're going to continue on the 22nd with how to create city blocks. On the 23rd, I'm going to show you how to make guilds and shops. Now, this is not interiors. These are exteriors, okay? If you want, we can include interiors. That's probably a whole second stream, so we can do part 2. Thank you very much, King Clown. So we'll be showing you with Fantasy Battle Maps how to make guilds, okay, and shops. Those are going to be fun. The 27th, I'm going to show you how to make crossroads with a battle map, because crossroads are very utility. They're probably found in every campaign, so they're absolutely useful. And of course, the 29th, how to create a starting village with the fantasy regional style, okay? Just for now, I'll be using fantasy regional for the to make a starting village, because every campaign needs to start somewhere, right? And it's probably going to start smack dab right in a little village, okay? And it can start in a tavern, it can start in a maze, it can start anywhere in a city, so in that village. So we're going to be going over what kind of things to stock into your villages in the beginning, so that way you have things for your players, and where to set up maybe ideas for quests, adventures, challenges that might be involved with that starting village. Okay, well, I think that is it. Great job, everybody. That was super fun. Really, really, really enjoyed this. You can find this, how mountains are formed. You can find this guide right here on my profile. Again, I got this from an image I saw online. I just replicated it right here. And then also there is a mountain guide right here, how to create, never mind, mountain ranges. How to create mountain ranges. I just want to emphasize this again. This is not the only way that mountain ranges are formed. There are multiple ways, but this is the most common and the most applicable to the map, okay? It's just easier to follow this method than it is to try to figure out 30 other ways to add the mountains. So this is just one way to do it, okay? I just want you to know it's not the only one. So go check out those guides. Remember, my profile is going to have tons of guides. If you go to the Explore page and you type in guide like this in the Explore page, you're going to notice that every single guide that I've made is right here. And the reason why is because I've made sure to put the word guide in every single title, and that way you can see all the various guides, and in some guides that I didn't make as well. I see there's one right here. I didn't make this guide. It's a fantastic guide, world map. This bridge one, I didn't make these, but a lot of these I did, and they're easy to find by just typing in guide in the Explore page. All right, well, I think that's it. Siri Myth Killer, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. It's been real fun. I am looking forward to seeing you all next month when we decide to do perspective. Yes, that's exciting. All right, hey, thank you for joining us. Please stay safe and healthy. Merry map making, and I will see you all next week. Please remember, be safe, be healthy. I'll talk to you later. Thank you, everybody.